I'm your host, Tess Brigham. So let's make sense of the mess together. So today I'm chatting with Viki Johnston, who just is one of those people who gets how humans learn and grow. She's the founder of Accelerate, where she helps managers become real leaders and teams find those aha or light bulb moments that change everything. She has a background in Neuro Linguistic Programming, NLP, and she spent her career helping people figure out how to be their best, but in a way that's fun, engaging, and actually sticks. So today we're going to be talking about growth, mindset, and why learning shouldn't feel so serious all the time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So tell me about because you've had a fascinating career. So you started as a corporate trainer, and then that led you to creating Accelerate, but I'm sure a lot happened in between. So tell me, can you take us back to the beginning and tell us a little bit about how did you end up here?
Yes, the beginning. Where did it all start? Well, so interestingly, my career really started. I left school when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
In the UK. That was totally normal to do that. I know it sounds now like, what? 15 to 16, but that was the way it was. And had a couple of jobs, and then I moved to a company called DHL, Courier Company. Probably heard of them, global organization. Started in the call center, taking phone calls, and realized that was a really boring job and I needed to do something different. So I moved pretty quickly around different departments and ended up as a manager in the call center, which I loved. I loved the responsibility of helping people, recruiting people, coaching people. I loved it all. We had a bit of a shift around in the department. I ended up doing a sideways shift into our training function, which, to be honest, was a bit of a surprise for me. I hadn't really done very well at school, so I hadn't really seen myself as a teacher as such, but I loved training. And very fortunately, at that time, the organization were growing. They were spending a lot of money, and they were very entrepreneurial in the UK. And they trained our training department, were trained how to consult, how to design, how to deliver, and how to create experiential type training. Which was really kind of the thing that I loved, because thinking outside the box, not following a script necessarily, but just kind of learning new ways to do things. And I just became even more fascinated with how people learn and how people grow, and thought about my own journey of not doing particularly well at school, and thinking, well, I can't learn things, but realizing that we all learn things in different ways. And so I ended up leaving that company after 15 years and set my own business up as a consultant in the UK, and I loved it. I loved going and seeing new companies and meeting new people. We then had the opportunity to move from the UK to Germany with my husband's job. That's where his corporate headquarters were. So we moved to Germany for a couple of years, met a whole bunch of new, fantastic, interesting people, continued doing my training, and then we moved to the US. And that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
That's where Accelerate as an organization or as a business was then founded, because I realized when I stepped into a country where I knew nobody, I thought I spoke the language, but actually American and English. There's some stuff that is not quite the same. But I then founded the company as Accelerate, all based on the idea of I wanted to help people have that light bulb moment, because that's what I'd been doing without even realizing it. I'd been helping people have that experience where they go, oh yeah, now I know what I should be doing differently.
Which makes you a teacher, right? I mean, because my mom was a teacher for 40 plus years. I mean, early education, so not what you're doing, but she talks about that, like what keeps a teacher teaching is those moments, being able to see the light bulb, see the shifts, see those moments. And it's very much what therapists, why we stay and do what we do, are those really special moments. When you're talking about your first job, I just had to write this down because I'm like, love the call center. So, but I think I understand why, but when you hear call center, I think a lot of times, and I don't know if this is really just an attitude thing, if things have changed so much because now we can't get humans, but there is something about it. I always feel like when it comes to a call center, these jobs, I know it's very hard for people to stay in these jobs for a long period of time. And it really takes a mindset around, what do I see when people are calling? Are they bothering me? Because I think that's huge. I've worked on lines before, suicide hotlines and all of that. And there is this weird thing of people being scared of the phone, and then people being like, no, this is the only reason why I'm sitting here is for this. But I would love to hear a little bit about, what was your call center like? What made it so special?
I think a lot of it was around the company. So I said that it was a very young, I mean, I was 18 and I was not, I mean, I was one of the youngest, but not by a million miles. It was a very young, I think the company average age at that point was 25. So we had a mindset of you work hard and you play hard. So there's a lot of social activity. We used to do big events like in the call center. We would have like dressing up days. We've had party days. And when I stopped being an agent and I moved into a leadership position, one of the things that I didn't like when I was on the phones permanently was this whole idea that your job was just to pick up a call. And that was kind of shouted at us from the front, from the management team. And when I stepped into that role, I just said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and I'm going to check. I'm going to check what they're doing, because if they're just sitting there like twiddling their thumbs, then I'm going to say, hey, grab a call. That's kind of your job. But they may be doing something else. They may be recovering. They may be doing paperwork. And we did used to get some difficult calls sometimes. I mean, these were people that had sent a very important package somewhere, and not everybody was friendly. So sometimes you had to just reset. And that's where I kind of stepped in, I guess, and was checking in with people and saying, are you okay? Do you need any help? Was that last call a bit stressful? How could, and talking people through that. I wanted it to be a fun experience. I hate when people hate their job.
Yes.
I hate that.
They just make everyone miserable. It's
yes,
true.
yeah. And I didn't want my team, as I saw them, to be miserable. I wanted them to have fun while they were doing their job, but also do their job. I mean, you've got to get that balance. And I think there were tough days, but mainly it was a really fun place to work. And I still have connections with people that I made friends with when I worked there. And I left them over 20 years ago. So
wow. Well, yeah, it sounds like a mini college experience almost, of living and everyone being your own age and kind of living in this little world together. So I want to switch over to, because you're a master practitioner of NLP. So how did you can you talk about what is NLP and how did you get into it and how do you use it now?
Yeah. So that's an interesting story. It's almost 6 years ago now. A friend of mine, I actually saw a post on LinkedIn about a training session that was happening with a company who were coming to Orange County, and they were running these 4-day intensive NLP training programs. And it was really cheap. It was like, if you went with a friend, it was going to cost you $100 for 4 days.
Oh, wow. And because the NLP training is known to be very expensive. So $100, I would have gone to.
Yes. So I'd known about NLP for a long time, just through my training, really. So NLP is not really new. Neuro Linguistic Programming. It's really just about the programming that we have in our head and how that impacts on how we communicate. I knew it very much from the body language aspect, from the verbal aspect. So how do we ask great questions? How do we listen? So I was kind of familiar with it. And a friend of mine had said, oh, I saw you noted this post on Facebook, and would you come with me? And I said, okay, that's fun. I'm always into how do I learn more things. I'm always into that stuff. So I'm like, that's good. I can do that. But with the caveat that because I was a bit suspicious because of the price, if it's going to be all salesy and they're going to make you sign up for something before you leave, I said, I'm not going to entertain that.
Yeah.
And I said to her, if it gets all sales and also rah-rah. I mean, Tony Robbins, I think, is amazing. I couldn't sit through a Tony Robbins.
Oh, I am so with you. Anytime I hear the music playing, I'm like, oh dear God, don't make me dance.
No.
Do not make me dance. And it's
myself.
a very interesting thing that happens where there's this idea of that there's something that you're holding something back because you don't want to dance. It's like, no, I feel like a pretty mentally healthy person. This just isn't who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I am honoring myself by not dancing.
I agree. And I'm an extrovert.
Yes, me too. Yes.
But I don't want to do that. I'd made it really clear to her, if it's any of this stuff, then I'm happy to lose the $100 and just walk out. And she agreed that's what we're going to do. So anyway, the first day we went along, and I really liked the guy that was training, who was the owner of the company. He just had a really fun way about him. Uses a bit of bad language occasionally, but I'm okay with that. And it was very interacting. There was like probably 100 people in the room, but we were breaking out into lots of activities. So very interactive from that point of view. Got to the end of day one, and I said, I didn't learn anything particularly, because this is all stuff I know, but it's kind of interesting. I like his style. We'll go back tomorrow. So we went back the next day, and we got a bit deeper into more of the internal communication. So what's really happening in your head, what language you're using in your own head, and what could potentially be holding you back. So day 2 and day 3, they started bringing people up to do these demos where they were coming up on stage and they were releasing some kind of challenge that they'd had. They had one person who came up who couldn't resist a certain food type, and they did this exercise with them, and then they presented them with this food type, and they were like, no, I couldn't possibly eat it. And I started getting suspicious then. I was like, this can't be real.
Yeah.
But we went back for day 4 anyway, because I was kind of enjoying it, and I felt like I was beginning to learn things.
I can't believe this is only $100, because now we're at day 4. I thought I thought you were going to tell me it was a 2-hour seminar.
No, it was 4 days, and 4 long days. So these were like from 10 in the morning until about 7 o'clock at night. They were long days.
No. Oh my gosh.
But it was amazing that we were kept going throughout the whole thing. It was so anyway, day 4. One of the things that they were asking to do a demo for was for a phobia. And I kind of said to my friend, oh, well, let's see, let's test the room here, because I'd had a phobia of spiders my whole life. Like, not just like there's a spider. I'd leave the house. If there was a spider in the house, I'd leave the house. So I nearly got out of a moving car one time because there was a spider crawling across the roof of the car. And my husband was driving, and I'm opening the door, and it was kind of a bad phobia. So I'd said, I'm going to go and tell them I'm going to volunteer, but they won't pick me because I'm not one of those people that have been planted in the, so it was my way of checking that it was real, I guess, which turned out that they did actually ask me to then volunteer to go up on the stage, and which then terrified me, because all I was thinking about this person who'd had this food stuff given to them, and I could never have done that aspect where they kind of slowly introduce you to a spider, because I literally I couldn't even look at them, let alone have them anywhere near me. Anyway, they did this whole process. It was probably less than 10 minutes. And at the end of it, they put up on the big screen a picture of a tarantula. And I had never seen a spider close up before. I couldn't even watch them on TV. I couldn't look at them if they were dead. I just couldn't look at them. And I'm looking at this giant tarantula, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of cute. It's like got furry feet. And these words are coming out of my mouth. And the guy, Dr. Matt, who was the trainer, was looking at me going, so you're okay with spiders then? Like, yeah, I guess I am. That was like the last thing they did. So we all went home. I'm in the car with my friend. I'm like, I don't know what just happened. I need to go find a spider, because this can't be real.
Yeah.
He must have just like hypnotized me or something. Well, like 6 years on, I'm still not afraid of spiders.
Wow.
I've learned how that process works through the other training that I did. And I've now released my mum's phobia, because my phobia probably came from my mum, because I don't know where mine came from, but she had some definite situations that created a phobia for her. And I've released those. that phobia for her, and work with other people to help them get rid of their fears and, you know, all that stuff that holds you back.
Yeah.
So with that for me was the moment where I thought, this stuff is really, really powerful. If it can release this lifelong fear that I'd had, which I didn't even know where it came from, what else could it do?
Yeah.
How else can it impact people's lives? So I just went like full on into, I need to understand how this stuff works.
And so from my understanding, because I've borrowed and used NLP exercises with my clients over the years, and this is how I always see it or think about it, as someone who has just read a book and done a few things and worked with someone, doing my own work. But to me, it feels like a lot of, because I was trained in cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's almost like NLP is sort of this next level of, because it is about, there is a level of, what are you thinking? You know, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How is that affecting the behavior? You're not really getting out there and saying it, but it comes back to, you know, starting with, how are you thinking about that? But NLP always felt like it was operating on this different level of kind of letting go of that logic, the logic part of you in some ways, and really recognizing that there's that we are all, I know it's going to sound a little woo-woo, but we are all energy, and that we are all inner, you know, connected, and that there are things that happen that we cannot explain. And that I do believe that, yeah, I mean, your energy is how you carry yourself, how you think about things, like that's everything. And so that's how I always think about NLP, but maybe I'm slightly off.
No, so that was interesting, because that's not how I thought NLP was. but it is actually.
Okay.
It is that. And the more I actually went back and I did the 4 days again. Right smack bang in the middle of COVID, actually.
Wow.
Because I was like, I wasn't paying attention. I need to go and do this again. So I did the 4 days again. Then I went on and did Master Practitioner, which is 2 weeks. I did their Train the Trainer program, which was another 2 weeks. I've since then also done some programs with them, which is all on energy, actually, which is completely outside of my realm of anything I've ever done before.
Yeah.
Because it's about, I mean, it's programming. It's how we program ourselves to respond to situations. And I've always believed that we can change how we respond to something. You know, we react to stuff, but we can look at, how do I respond in a different way? What the NLP does, it gets really deep into that energetic response of why we do certain things, why we think certain things. And there are a ton of techniques that you can use to reprogram people's thinking, which is the powerful stuff, really.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take, you know, you could have therapy for years and years and years. Some of this stuff, literally, you can do. I mean, for me, you know, and I don't want to pretend that spider phobia is a life-limiting thing, but that was less than 10 minutes. Yeah, that whole exercise, and you know, and I've worked with people just for a couple of hours and helped them reframe their whole thinking around something, and allows them the freedom to go on and do what they really want to do. Yeah, what's been holding them back. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people think, therapists, that we think the only way is therapy. And I'm like, when therapy's not working, I'm like, try NLP, try this, try that, go down the coaching route, go to you know, try. Because I think so much of it is, and kind of back to this light bulb moment that you were talking about, so much of it is things lining up. You're the right teacher. You're at the right moment. You were there and you were able to say the thing that they needed to hear. And when I worked in drug and alcohol treatment, that was, you know, people would come back into treatment over and over again. And there was this feeling of, well, what's the point? You know, if I say something to someone during their second stay and they don't get sober till their eighth, then what? It was like, no, it all builds upon itself. Like, but really the light bulb moment that you get is really when that person's finally, it's like, oh, come together. Like they really get it.
Yeah. And you don't know when that's going to happen.
Yes.
You know, and you can't force it. So, you know, I always maintain that I don't know the answers to everything. I'm like, I'm probably the last person to know the answers to everything. But what I like to do is help people find their own answers. And I'm kind of good at pushing people's buttons sometimes and asking those questions. And the NLP training certainly helped with that. It's just thinking differently around where people get stuck, and just asking those different types of questions that helps them realize. And sometimes they're ready and sometimes they're not. So, yeah.
Well, I worked with an NLP practitioner. I mean, I want to say this was 15 years ago. And the big phrase that sticks in my mind all the time, and it's funny that I'm on a podcast saying this, but it was, people want to hear what I have to say. That was always my biggest issue when I made this transition from like, okay, I'm going to try to be on a bigger platform. And that was the thing. Why would anyone listen? What am I saying that's anything different than anything else? Especially if you work in this field where everyone's saying the same things. But it's interesting. When you said that, I was like, oh, that's right. I have something. People want to hear what I have to say. Oh, okay. So I want to switch to I want to talk a little bit about generations, because I would love to hear from your perspective, because you work with teams and you're working with teams of executive leadership. Do you work with teams that are sort of the front line?
Yes. So I work across all levels.
Okay.
But my favorite group of people are those new managers that have just been promoted. That kind of that Peter principle effect, where you get promoted to your level of incompetence. You know, you're the best salesperson, and now you're the sales manager, and you've got no clue. I love working with that level, because they generally are, you know, they're the ones that need those light bulb moments. They're the ones that are going, why is this so hard? You know, what is it that I'm missing? And so going in at that level and working with them and helping them understand how they can support each other. So, you know, team activity for me is so important, because, you know, not one person knows everything, but you're amongst other people who have skills and talents and gifts in areas that you hadn't even considered. So how do you tap into that? How do you open yourself up and have those conversations? So working really with that frontline management team who are really just going, how do I connect with my peer group? Because now maybe I've just been promoted and I'm working with a bunch of people that used to be above me, and now I'm at the same level. And how do I carry on working with my team that I'm now slightly removed from, but still want to be part of, and helping them kind of see that for what it really is. I mean, people create these stories. It's like, well, now I'm the manager, I couldn't possibly be part of that team anymore. You kind of still are. You're just a different role. That's all.
Or I'm the manager and I have to know everything.
Yes.
I have to have the answer for everything.
Yes.
So since you've been doing this a while, I'm very curious of what have you seen with the generations? Because I'm sure you've worked with first-time millennial managers, now. I just read this stat the other day that something like by the end of this year, there'll be, 1 in 10 managers are Gen Zers, which is much higher than I thought. And now they are actually more, baby boomers are 15% of the workplace and they're 18%. So the switch is happening.
It's definitely happening. It's definitely happening. And so some of the companies I work with, interestingly, have like the whole range. I might have 20 managers in a room, and I've got some guys who have been there since like day one. And they're like, I've been a manager for 30 years and I know what I'm doing. And, you can't tell me anything. And this has always worked for me. So there's those people that are actually more difficult to work with, because they don't believe that they need to change.
Yeah. And
then you go through the generations, and then you have these new leaders that are coming in who really understand the concept of value. How do I add value? How do I and they also don't feel like they need to have all the answers to everything, because they can just pick up their phone, or they can go to ChatGPT, or in 20, 30 years ago, as a manager, if you didn't know the answer to something, where were you going to get the answer from? You had to pluck things out of nowhere to have those answers. Whereas now, the generation that come through, no, they don't need to know everything. I don't need to know the answer to everything. I can just chat. I was going to say Google. We don't even Google anything anymore, do we? I can just chat GPT it and see what the answer is. So that's a good thing, in that they've shifted into this realm of, I don't need to be the font of all knowledge, but I do have a responsibility for my team. The challenge I think they have sometimes is how do they really connect with other people?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you can get a bit insular in a bit, I don't need other people because I can just ChatGPT everything. If I need an answer, I don't need to go and ask a colleague. I can just find out the answer. It's still important for people to make those human connections. And for, you might be able to brainstorm, and there's all these AI programs now that do all these different things, and you want one for brainstorming, you want one for resource, you want one for, we still need to brainstorm with people. We still need to have our creative minds kicking in and having those conversations. And I think that's my concern moving forward, is that we end up working more in silos because I don't really need anybody else.
Yeah.
Because I can get all the answers I need.
Well, and the other thing with ChatGPT, and I always have to laugh, is, because I do use ChatGPT for many different things. It's like I don't have to, rewrite the playbook every single time that I do something. I can just, plug in my own stuff and let ChatGPT put it together. But what I love is, when they create something for you and you're like, okay, well, I want it more like this and this, get rid of this. And then they'll always give you that, great job, Tess. What good thinking. And I'm like, is this really what's happening here? I mean, that is not, it's nice to have the positive reinforcement, but at the same time, is this really what is best? Is this, because what you're talking about with people is that even if ChatGPT can give you the same answer, maybe you get to the same place, there is something about hearing those words from an actual person that's very different. And then also those times when it doesn't, not every time, but I don't know. What do you think? Or like, you could push yourself a little bit more like that, not to be rude, but to challenge yourself a little bit. And that's what makes me nervous about AI and what's happening, which is if AI is us, we need other people. We always have. If we could individually solve our own problems, I would not have a job. You would not have a job.
No. Yeah.
So that's the thing. We as individuals, and even us that have all the tools and skills, we need help. Because we can't see, and we can't see because it's us.
So that's why you need other people to to run those ideas. And you need, I like the concept of positive conflict, where you can have two people that have like completely different opinions about something, but can have a constructive conversation about it. And I'm not sure you get that so much with AI, because I think it wants to please you.
Yes.
So it's going to give you the answers you want to hear. If you were to say, well, hey, ChatGPT, what do you think about this idea? It's not going to go, that's a terrible idea. You should think about this. It might just say, that's great, but you could also, sometimes we still need somebody that's going to say to us, okay, well, that's an interesting concept, but I'm not sure this is my view, or, and to be able to have those sometimes difficult conversations that help us move forward. Because if we always stay in our comfort zone, we're never going to have the light bulb moments. If we just keep doing the stuff that we know, we've got to have that experience of being a little bit uncomfortable, so that we can say, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective.
So when you're going and working with a team of all different ages, how do you deal with that person who's got, and I've been there, the wall up, right? And then you've got the other, you've got maybe the older manager with the wall up, and maybe the younger manager who's like, well, I could just look this all up. Like I can just do this from home. I don't ever need to come in the office. So how do you work with that resistance?
One of the things I like to do, and why I think it's fun, is create almost like a game, or give them a situation where they have to, they step out of their role as I'm the manager of IT, or I'm the facilities, or I'm the, you just put them into a completely new and random situation, and you play a game with them. And then their personalities start to come out, and then afterwards you can really pull that apart and say, well, why did you react in that way? And what did you think when this person responded to you in that way? And then allowing them to really see their behaviors outside of the workplace, and how they're thinking about processes can either negatively or positively impact on other people, and really just kind of pull that apart a bit and then say, okay, so if you're at work, if you're in your office and somebody comes to you and says that, how do you think you might respond to that differently next time? So making it, I mean, as I said, I like fun. Fun is like way up there on my list of values. I want everything to be fun. But making it something that doesn't feel threatening to them, so that they don't, a lot of the very senior managers, the threat comes from they've had to be the one that has all the answers. So now I'm saying, you don't have to know how to do this, because nobody knows how to do this. This is like an unsolvable puzzle that you're working through. So I don't expect you to have the answer. Nobody expects you to have the answer. So don't, you can step out of that role. Just use your creative thinking to do this in a different way, and then allowing them to have that light bulb moment and go, oh, I guess, if I don't actually need to behave in this way as a manager anymore. So, that's not what people need. Leadership has changed. It's shifted so much in the last 20 years. I mean, even actually in the last 5 years since COVID.
Oh, yeah.
This whole idea of people now working remotely and wanting more flexible working environment, and some of the more senior managers struggle with that, because for them, how do I know that you're doing your job unless I can see you sitting at your desk doing your job?
Yes. And I think also just the expectations, I've talked about this a lot on this show and anyone who will listen, which is that it is very hard for someone who didn't have conversations about, or coaching conversations with their manager about their career, to then walk in and go, oh, I need to do this as well. And I think that's the part of it that is challenging. And I think that people get into, what happens is everyone gets their defenses up, and it's this mean, like, don't you care about young people? Or, or you have other people that are like, I have so much work to do. Why do I have to fix your problems? Whatever that is, versus really taking a step back and recognizing, oh, okay, this is what, our world has shifted and changed. This is what we need. This is what this is what employees want. You probably want it for yourself, for your boss, with your boss, right? Don't you? So how do you then think about this and do this differently? But I feel too many people get stuck in that, like, wait, what, No one told me. Or no,
I had to figure it out.
Yeah. This isn't the way it's always been. And that, I think, gets us every single time.
Yeah. And it is hard. I mean, delegating is like a key skill for leadership, but it gets a bad rap because people feel like, well, I'm just going to delegate you the crappy tasks because they're the things I don't want to do, and you just go and figure it out because it's actually not that important anyway. But I just want to get it off my plate. And that's not really what delegating is supposed to be. It's about coaching, it's about developing, it's about opportunity. And it takes time to do that. If you have a really important task that needs to be done and you want to delegate it to somebody, you're going to have to factor in the fact I'm going to have to, I'm going to have those boundaries. I'm going to have those check-in meetings without me like helicoptering or micromanaging you. And it's going to take them longer to do it than it would you, because maybe you have the experience. But ultimately, they're going to learn something new, and they're going to be able to take that thing and run with it, and they're going to continue to grow. And then the next time they come to you and you say, how about taking this task? They're like, oh, it's similar to the last thing, but it's just all building. And often managers feel like delegating is not worth it because I haven't got time to sit down and tell you how to do it exactly the way that I do it. Well, don't do that then. Tell them what the boundaries are. Tell them what the outcome is expected. Tell them, what they've got to work with and what they can't do and what they can do, and let them go figure it out. And just be there as a support. Yeah. And checking in and asking the right questions.
Because it sounds like inevitably what happens is when a manager takes that stance is that the people who are like, okay, I'll just figure it out. Let me just go and do it. Are those, I don't need any help. I'm good to go. So just go and do it. And that not asking for help, probably working overtime, not asking for their needs, that kind of thing, that mentality, that becomes the workforce, right? These are the people that are rewarded. And then the person who comes and walks in and goes, well, wait a second, you didn't teach me any of these things. We see that as, well, you're not a self-starter. And I can see how that would be Huge. Is that what you think is the difference between, I had this question for you, which is, what's the difference between a good manager and a great leader?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
Is it the delegation?
Yeah, managers tell people what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give instruction and they'll say, right, this is your next task. Go do it, and I'll keep an eye on you.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders just allow people to find their own way,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be very clear around. Leaders just don't just go, well, just go and see what you can do and let me know at some point how you get on. Leaders will be saying, this is what we need to achieve. This is the goal. And these are some of the boundaries. So this is how much money you can spend. This is how much time you've got. This is the resource, so they give some information, and then they start to coach people through. So every time they come back, and at the beginning often, and again, this generation, I think, is split between people who just go, well, I'll just figure it out and hopefully I'll do it right. And other people who get so worried that every little step, they're like, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? And so the leader needs to understand what this person needs. And if you do have that person that wants to check in, just set those times. Come and check in with me on this day. Yeah, this is looking good. Ask some great questions. Ask them, well, how did you get to this? Why did you think this was going to be a good way of doing it? And how did you figure it out so far?
Yeah.
Perfect. Use some of those skills to go away and do that again with the next bit.
Yeah.
So it is understanding what your people need, and everybody's different. And managers, I've heard people say, but this is how I was managed. I'm like, yeah, but did you like it? And they're like, no, it was terrible. I'm like, well, why are you doing that then? Why are you doing that?
And it's interesting because when it comes to parenting, people will consciously say, I mean, my parent hit me, my parent yelled at me, and I won't do that to my kid. And it's fascinating that in the workplace, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I've had some abusive bosses, things that cross the line, and you're a little bit like, but you will do it for your own child, but I'm someone else's kid too. So apparently, but I don't get it. And it's really fascinating to see how people don't see the correlation between the two as much as they need to.
Yeah. And I use that correlation a lot with people. I mean, I've got kids as well, so I know how that goes. And I use that a lot with people, and I'll say to them, as a leader, you have a responsibility for your team, the same as you do with children. And you have to teach them how to tie their shoelaces. And then at some point you have to just say, you're okay. You could go tie your shoelaces by yourself. And if they trip up, you go, oh, okay, let's start that again then. Let's help you do that. If you have to allow people that space to grow. And often it doesn't happen in the workplace. People get controlled. If I don't know what they're doing, if they're a virtual worker and they're not logged into their Teams account at this hour and this hour, then how do I know they're even doing anything?
Yeah. The work, I was going to say, is the work getting done?
Yeah. And if they're delivering the output within the time that you've told them, does it matter that they're doing it at 3:00 in the morning or 3:00 in the afternoon? Unless they're in a call center, in which case. If you're customer facing, then yes, you need to be there. But that's for the leader to identify what the goal is and what the parameters are.
Yeah. And in that case, really the only problem I could see is, okay, I can understand if your teammates want to be able to get a hold of you and they can't stay up till 3 a.m. to get a hold of you, right?
Yeah.
So what does that look like? How do you still do your work at 3 a.m. if that's what you want to do and still be available for people?
And that's part of that role as the leader to say, there are certain tasks that you can do in your own time. The same as if you were in the office, they're not literally coming up to you every 10 minutes and saying, are you working on that now? If they are, can you imagine what a nightmare that would be? They'll say, what are you doing this morning? And they say, I'm going to work on this task. And you figure it out. You figure out, if you're a morning person, maybe you're more creative first thing. So you do your creative stuff and then you do all your paperwork in the afternoon. Or if you're more of a night bird, maybe you do the boring stuff in the morning to try and wake yourself up, and then you get creative in the afternoon. It's the same, we are the same wherever we are.
Yeah.
And we need to have a situation where we have trust for each other. And if we break the trust, then that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Well, if someone's going to slack and not do anything, even if you're staring at them, they're still going to slack in their own way. Like the people that are going to get it done are going to get it done. The people that want to take advantage of you are going to take advantage of you, and you'll figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
but
what do you
think? A lot of it is the mindset, going back to the NLP stuff. A lot of it is that that programming that we have, is that as a manager, I need to do this, I need to know this, I need to have this, I need to control this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and also just the frustration of, but I told them to do this and they're not doing it. And it is, that is frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. What do you think? We've been talking for a while now, so I will let you go, but I'm very curious. What do you think what do people misunderstand the most about Gen Z that you've seen?
Well, I think it's the same when the millennials came through, and it was all they're entitled, they don't want to work. I think what I'm not sure we don't understand the Gen Z. I think there's more of a fear factor that they might know more than we do, because I don't know, if I'm trying to find something on my phone, and I'm, now I'm using ChatGPT, but when I was Googling something, I put a question in, I'd never get the answer. And I'd say to my daughter, oh, how do you find out that? And she just knew what prompts to type in to get the information that she wanted. She could find like the most ridiculous thing. She would say, what's that song that goes da 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 da? She'd type it in. Oh, it's how? Because I think that for us, it's more of that fear that they're going to overtake us. Because they know more, they have access, they're smarter with the technology. We're still playing catch up a lot with that technology. We're still trying to understand that, and they are flying ahead. So I think there's a little bit of fear for us, is that's going to happen. But I think there's also the reality that they are, generationally, they are so different. I mean, we always say every generation is different from the last, but their interactions, the way that they make friends, the way they connect with people is so different from anything that we know. I think it's more just that we don't really understand it well enough. We don't take time to really listen and say, well, how do you really make friends with people then? Because that's how it's done now. You don't get on your bike and cycle out in the street and wait for some other kids to come out. Nobody does that anymore. So I think it's just we don't understand them. And I've got one. So
and so what would be your solution to cleaning up the gen mess? Is it we've got to understand them?
I think we just need to understand. We need to learn how to listen. We need to learn how to remove our preconception around, well, this is how you do it though, isn't it? This is what the world was. It's not like that anymore. We need to listen. We need to be non-judgmental. We need to also provide them with some guidance, because they still need to know, there are certain ways that we still have to operate. We still, there are ways of connecting with people. So being a support rather than a dictator, I guess, or a controller, allowing them space, and also then helping them get back up when they fall over.
And I think for a lot of leaders, there is, again, even for them, they feel like, well, I need to look busy, right? Just like the frontline worker, right? Well, I need to look busy. So I have to be bugging them, or I have to be checking in, or I have to be doing this, like that. It's just so interesting when we look at various stages of a career, and it's like, the fears in this, it's always the same thing. It just looks slightly different. And if you can recognize that in the moment of being like, I'm still me. These are my experiences. And I've learned way back then that I can say, I don't know. So I'm going to say, I don't know again. And know that that's okay.
And I think that's a really important thing across the board, is not to make people feel afraid to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I've no idea. I've got to this point and now I'm stuck. And allowing people to have that, because every time you have that conversation, it allows that person to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and grow. And then often just having those conversations, that's where they have those moments of like, I was kind of thinking that, but I wasn't sure if that was right, or hadn't come into my mind before. We have to step out of what we know to learn anything that we don't know.
And if you are a trainer, I think this is what I always have to remember for me on my side, which is, if the only thing that person walks away with is, I need to give myself permission to do this or to be wrong, That's huge. You're like, sometimes you get this feeling, right, when you're in front of groups, like they have to walk away, like all this meaning in their life. But it's like, no, if you walk away really seeing the world slightly different and seeing yourself, and that helps you feel a little more empowered.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Doing
I always just think, if one person comes up to me at the end of a training and said, that was really great, I've suddenly realized something I hadn't done before. Then I'm like,
I did something right.
I did something. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I have about 5 more questions, but we can save that for next time. So tell everyone how they can find you. Tell us about Accelerate, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm on LinkedIn, Viki Johnston. Viki is spelled Viki, so a bit of a quirky spelling, and it's Johnston with a T. You can find me on LinkedIn. My website is accelerate.com, and that's spelled a bit funky too. So that's EXELORATE.com. And it's kind of a play on words. When I set it up, it was how to excel when you're talking, communicating. So the orate, excel, orate. Anyway, I thought it was funny at the time. Now I'm stuck with it. So that's EXELORATE.com. That's kind of where I am. You can also email me. It's Viki, Viki, @accelerate.com. I would love to hear from anybody who wants to know more about growing and building teams, or if you've got those managers that, like the Peter Principle thing, you're like, oh, I'm stuck. I'd love to hear from you.
Very first-time managers are so critical. And I always say this, I tripped into working with first-time managers because I worked with young people, and that's just what happened. I was like, oh, right. Yeah. You guys really don't get any training.
No, they don't.
Oh, okay. Got it. But yeah, so vital, especially if you have a company where you have a lot of new trainers, a lot of new managers coming in all the time.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for listening to the Jen Mess with